Let's look at nudging samples. I'll show you what I mean by nudging a sample. So nudging the sample means moving the sample within the track, or you can even shift it to a new track by using the keys on your keyboard. So this helps you to align your sample with the grid. I have opened up an empty project. I'll load an audio track first. I'll go to the plus symbol here. Add track. I have audio selected. I hit create. On the right here, if you don't see this pin, it might be hidden over here. I'll maximize this. Go to the browse media folders. Right now I have already saved the path of my folder where my samples are over here. So I click on this drop down and I go and I hit samples. You can do this by going through your folder where you have saved your samples, and then you just need to hit this button over here which says save content, and it will save it in this drop down. So every time you open a project, you don't have to scroll through all your folders to find your samples. Then you just hit on this drop down and you will find the name of the folder where you have saved your samples. I'll open a random sample pack and I'll drag a sound. If I click on a sample, it just keeps continuously playing that sample. So to turn that off, you right click over here where it says media and you turn off loop preview. Now when I click on a sample, it will just play it once. Another thing that you have to take a look at is when you right click on media, you might have your preview at host tempo on. So what happens is it plays the sound at the tempo that you set over here. If I change this to 126 and I hit enter, it will now play that sample at 126. And this can cause some distortion in the sound, so you have to turn this preview at host tempo off, and then when you select that sample, it will play at its original tempo. I'll drag this sample in here, left click hold, and I'll leave it here. Now I left click on this sample to select it. On the top left here, I'll go to process and I'll go to nudge. Here you will see the keyboard keys that have to be pressed to nudge that sample in that particular direction. I'll explain to you what each of them mean. But before that, I'll go to my settings here, and this will originally be in absolute time like this. Okay, it might be in this absolute time for you. You have to change it to musical time for nudge 1, musical time for nudge 2, and then change it to musical time for nudge 3. For the first nudge, I have set it to 1/32. You can set it to whichever measure you want. And on the second nudge, I have set it to half. Once you have done that, you can ignore nudge 3 for now. You can set it up later. You hit apply and then hit close. Now just for reference, you can go back to nudge and see the keys that you need to press to move that particular sample. So left 1 and right 1 is for nudge 1, which is set to 1/32, and left 2 and right 2 is for nudge 2, which is set to half. So you can see the keys which you need to press to do that. So I'll show you 1/32 first. I select the sample here, and on my number pad on my keyboard, I press 1. So it moves by 1/32. If I hit 4 on my keyboard, it moves by half. Now for reference again, I see that there are two more options here, up and down. I can use number 8 and number 2 to move this sample up or down. If I had more tracks over here, like if I insert another audio track and my sample is selected, if I press number 2 on my keyboard, it will move that sample down. But I don't use this much. If I go beyond this track, it will create another new track for that sample to move to. It automatically created that new audio track. I usually use these 4, 6 and 1 and 3 to adjust the sample to the grid. Another thing for you to know is, instead of creating a new track, a new audio track, and then dragging the sample onto it, you can just left click on a sample and drag it into the open space here. It will automatically create a new track for it. Next, I'll show you how to set the default height for a track and why it could be useful. Say I want some more space on this track here. I can just see my effects and I can drag this down. I don't need my input and output to be seen. I just need this particular area to be seen. My read, write and my freeze button. When I add a new track, whether it is an instrument track or an audio track, let's create an instrument track. You will see that this track has this drop down visible here, the input drop down. And in this track, I had hidden that drop down. Now every track that I create, it will show me this drop down here. And it is taking up my space on the track view. I want it to be maybe this small so that I can see more of the tracks in one view instead of scrolling down to see the rest of the tracks. So what I want to do is I want to set this track height for every track that I add onto this track view. I right click on this track and I select the option called set as default height. So whatever the height of this track was will be the height of every track that comes after this. I click on this plus symbol. Let's select audio track for this time and I hit create and it has created a new track with that set default height. Now create an instrument track and it has set it as the default height. And that's it for this video. See you in the next one.